Hi everyone, this is Lisa from the Facebook group Crochet for Love. If you enjoy some of my tutorials, you can join me in my Facebook group where you can find all my PDF files. So today I'm going to be redoing the Christmas Hanging Star that I recently did. I'm going to be redoing the video because the first video that I did on Facebook was a live, and I was kind of chit-chatting and things like that, so I wanted to do a completely new recording. So we're going to move on to doing this star. Okay, the star is very nice. I actually made this one with, you can see it's like it's got like little gold ribbons and things. And even the jute that I found actually has some gold in it. I found this at Michael's. Best to use a coupon for it, but it's definitely something that goes really well with hanging ornaments. So we're going to work on this star. Okay, this star is not blocked, just so you know. You could block them, and it would make these points a little bit more defined, but for now it's perfectly fine. So onto the pattern. First we're going to go over the materials. If you have the PDF, you'll see that under the materials you can use any 4-weight yarn. This is a 4-weight yarn that I'm going to be using today. If you don't have a 4-weight yarn, you could use a smaller, like a lighter weight or a thicker weight, but know that your star is going to turn out either smaller or much larger, and you're going to need to adjust your hook according to whatever yarn you're using. So for this 4-weight yarn, I'm going to be using a 5mm hook. Okay, and we're also going to need a stitch marker. Okay, I get my stitch markers I got from Michael's, and these are the best quality ones I've found. I've bought other ones off Amazon before and I really hated them. But these ones, the plastic is more durable, I find. They're like, you can go like that and they don't break. Sorry. Pardon. I'm getting over a slight cold too, so sorry about that. So anyway, I'm not endorsed by Michael's. I just really like Michael's. You can get a whole little package of probably 50 of these or something. You use a coupon, you can get them at Michael's, and these ones are my favorite from Michael's. So we're going to need a stitch marker. We're also going to need something to hang our star. I found this jute, which I was talking about, from Michael's. It was $3.99 for this whole wrap, but I'm pretty sure I used a coupon when I bought this too, so it wasn't too bad of a price. But this stuff is great for hanging ornaments. You can use normal twine. It doesn't have to have gold sparkle stuff in it, or you can even use yarn, or you can even use one of your metal hooks from from ornaments on your trees. Okay, and the next thing we're going to need is scissors and a wide-eyed sharp sewing needle. Okay, I actually use both a dull one and a sharp one. I'll show you which sewing needles I use. This one here is a very common one that most people know about. It has this hook thing. It kind of has like a bend here, and it's got a very wide eye for yarn. So this is a yarn needle. But the only thing with this is it's very dull. Okay, so this one here that I actually found this at like a dollar plus place. So there's a random expensive dollar store that I found them at. But this one is extremely sharp. It's very, very sharp. Like, this thing can stab you. Sorry. But this, the eye is not as big as the yarn ones. If you can see the difference here. I'll try to hold them up. But it is wide enough this way, that you can squeeze some yarn through there. So this is actually my go-to needle for weaving in ends for blankets and things like that, because it's extremely sharp, so it can catch fibers and all that. But yeah, it's definitely my go-to needle, and anybody who crochets, I suggest to try to find one of these. They're extremely, I haven't really seen them anywhere else, so they might be a little rare to come across, but it's definitely must have. Okay, and this one too, because this one, when you want to go under the stitch at the very end, when you want to do an invisible join, you don't want to catch the fibers when you're doing an invisible join, so you do want a dull one for that part. But then when you want to weave in your ends, you want this super sharp one. Okay, so we'll move on from that now, and we're going to move on to the pattern. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the abbreviations. Most of the abbreviations here are well known, except for the replacement double crochet. Now there's two ways of doing the replacement double crochet. I will show you both ways. Well, I'm not going to show you both ways. I'm going to show you the way that I do it, and I'll also talk you through the other ways of how other people do it. And also the slip stitch two together is something that not everybody does. And sometimes people do it differently. So we're going to go over those stitches together, no worries, and you're going to know how to crochet this star exactly how I did it with no problems. Okay, so we're going to move this over and out of the way, and we're going to get our yarn, and we're going to start with our 5mm crochet hook. I leave a pretty good tail at the beginning because I don't like to struggle to weave it in. I also like to weave in one way and then weave back the other way. So I leave you can leave a pretty good tail. I think this is about like four inches or so. So we're going to start with a slip knot. Okay. This is how I do my slip knot. You can do your slip knot however is comfortable for you. Okay. This is just the way that I do my slip knot. Sorry. I'm going to be probably clearing my throat a little bit because I am still trying to get over being sick. So, I don't know if I should, I'm not going to zoom in just yet. I'll zoom in when I'm doing the replacement double crochet so that you can see it a little bit better. But for now, I'm just going to leave it like this. So the first thing we do is we make a slip knot and we chain 5. With the 5mm hook and the 4 weight yarn, I recommend that your first chain 5 here, don't do it super loose, okay? Because then the 10 stitches that go into the ring, you're gonna have to move them around quite a bit. So if you make it a little bit tighter, you'll have a little bit of a less issue with that. So we chain 5, and then we're going to slip stitch to the first stitch to form a ring, okay? So there we have it. We have our little ring. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not going off screen here. Okay. Sorry. This is, I'm still not fully used to doing video tutorials, so please bear with me. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do the replacement double crochet. So some people do a replacement double crochet simply by doing a single crochet and then a chain 1. And that chain 1 would be considered the top of your double crochet. So the single crochet and the chain 1 is your double crochet, and then the chain 1 is like the top of your double crochet. So I do mine a little differently. I think I'll zoom in for this one so that you can see a little bit better of how I do it. Hopefully I stay in the screen because I move my hand around a little bit. So to do the replacement double crochet the way I do it, is you're going to bring up your loop, okay, to a little bit bigger than your double crochet, okay? And then you're going to make sure you hold that part and don't let it go at all, okay? If you let that go, it's going to unravel, okay? So you pull it up and make sure you hold it good and tight on your hook, okay? And then you're going to go you're going to go like this behind it to make a second loop on your hook, and then you're going to go into the ring, okay, and don't let go of that stitch, please. You got to continue to hold on to it, okay? Bring up a loop of your yarn, and you'll have 3, well, kind of 4, because this is like it looks like 2, but it's considered you consider it as 3, okay? Then you yarn over again, and you pull through this and this. So you pull through those 2, and then you yarn over and you pull through the last 2, okay? And that's a replacement standing double crochet. And if you look at the side here, you'll see there's the V there too. So it literally looks exactly like a double crochet. I hope that that was visually good enough on there for you. It's hard to watch this while watching the screen. So if you struggle and I didn't show you on the video good enough, just let me know in the comments and I will do a separate video on how to do this standing double crochet. Okay. So the first thing I do too is before you move on is just grab, if you look, you have this stitch right here, and sorry, this yarn right here and this yarn right here. There's one in the middle here, but you don't want to grab that, okay? So you want to grab the loosey one at the back and the one at the front, and there's your V, okay? And we're just going to pop a stitch marker in there, okay? Grab some more yarn. Now, for the rest of this row 1, we're going to do 9 more double crochets into this loop. I'm going to zoom back out again because I think, there we go. Okay, so 9 double crochets, okay, into this ring, into the starting chain 5 ring. Okay, so there's 1, oops, and there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, 5, there's 6. Well, that one was a little loose, wasn't it? Sorry, I don't want I like my stitches to kind of be uniform. If one looks too loose or something, then I don't want it. I want to redo it. So, and that was 6, right? So let's see. Yeah, 2, 4, 6. Okay, on to 7. 7. There's 8. And the last one, number 9. See, now I have no gaps on this one because I did my chain 5 pretty tight. Not like super tight, but with a tight enough tension. If you do your chain 5 at the beginning very loose, then you're going to need to, wiggle these. You can wiggle if you have a big gap here, okay, because you only have 10 double crochets here. If you have a big gap here, you can just wiggle those stitches over and just get them so that you don't have that gap. Okay. So now we're going to slip stitch to the top of that replacement double crochet. Okay, you can either leave this stitch marker in when you're doing it, or you can take it out. Just make sure that you, like I said, you don't get that third loop that's in the middle. Okay, you want to make sure you grab that V. Okay, actually here I'll show you. So sometimes when you're doing this replacement and you go to grab that first one, that back one will get tight. So make sure that you're grabbing that V. Okay, got that V. All right, and we're going to slip stitch. Okay. So for this one, you can, when you do your next replacement double crochet on the row 2, it will tighten that slip stitch, and that's perfectly fine. When I wrote the pattern, I did write in specifically when you need to stop tightening your slip stitches. Okay. So now we're going on to row 2, and we're going to make a replacement double crochet into that same stitch that we slip stitched into. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to get some yarn. So again, with our replacement double crochet, we're going to pull up to a little bit longer than a double crochet. Okay, so you have room to turn. Hold the top of that stitch and don't let it go. Okay, twist it under, go into that same stitch that we slip stitched into, pull up a loop, yarn over and go through 2, and yarn over and go through 2 again. So that we have our replacement double crochet. And we're going to pop a stitch marker in there. This yarn is, got to be careful that I don't catch the fibers, because with this little gold thread in there. It's a little tricky to work with sometimes. So now after you've done your replacement double crochet in the same stitch that you joined into from the previous row, you're going to make another double crochet into that same stitch. Okay. So we have 2 in that first stitch that we joined into. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do 3 double crochets, all into the same stitch. Oops. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay. And that is our repeat for this row. So in the next stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets. 1 and 2, both in the same stitch. And in the next stitch, we're going to do 3 double crochets. There's 1, 2, and 3. All right, this yarn gets all twisty. I'm getting close to the end of the ball here. Actually, I hope I have enough to finish this star. If I don't, oh my gosh, I will suck. But it gets very twisty at the end. Okay, so 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets. That's our repeat all the way around. Okay, so let's go 2. There's 1, and 2, and then 3. 1, 2, and 3. And in the next 2, there's 1, and 2, and then the next one 3. There's 1, 2, and 3. And we have 2 stitches left. Okay, and we're going to do 2 in this one. 1 and 2, and in the last stitch you'll put 3. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then we're going to slip stitch to join to the top of that standing replacement double crochet. And there we have it. Oh, sorry. And yeah, I mentioned there was 10 stitches for row 1. For row 2, we're going to have 25 stitches. So if you're not 100% sure on your stitch count, you can count your stitches and make sure that you have 25 for row 2. And that's not including this slip stitch. Okay. So now on the pattern right now, I tell you not, after this, do not tighten any of your slip stitches. Okay. There's a reason for it, because you have to go into those slip stitches, and if you tighten them, or if you do them too tight, you're gonna struggle to get into them. Okay, sorry, pardon me. Okay, so we're going on to round 3. Row 3, we're going to skip the first stitch, which is the stitch that we joined into. Okay, and we're going to also skip the next stitch. Okay, and then we are going to place 3 double crochets into the next one, which is in the 3rd stitch. So here, I'm going to zoom in for this part so you can see. Okay, so this is the stitch we slip stitched into. We're skipping that, and we're skipping this one as well, and we're going to double crochet into the 3rd one here. Okay, so double crochet, and we're going to double crochet 3. Oh, you should put a stitch marker, sorry, into that slip stitch. Okay, I know it's not a stitch, but we want to mark it anyway. Okay, because we're after this row, we are going to start using those stitches. Okay, so you can mark this one, or you can mark the first double crochet. It really doesn't matter, but I mark the slip stitch. Okay. Okay, so that's 1 double crochet into that 3rd stitch, and we're going to make 2 more. Okay, 1 and 2, so that's 3 double crochets into that same stitch. Okay, and we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to do 3 more double crochets into that same stitch that you put those 3 into. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, now if you see your last double crochet here kind of overlapping this other one, it's fine. You can just go like this. Okay, and then it will fix itself. Okay. Now we're going to skip this one stitch here. So if you just move it over a little bit, you'll see this one has like a kind of a big gap here. That's still a stitch, okay? Don't miss that one. So we're going to skip that one, and next we're going to slip stitch into the next one. Okay? And make sure you do this slip stitch lightly, okay? You don't want to do it too tight. So, sorry. Now we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. Okay. And do it lightly. You don't want to do it too tight, because these 2 slip stitches you're going to be going into in the next row. So you want to make sure that it's loose. Okay. Pardon me. So this is your next, this is the repeat starting here. Okay, after this slip stitch, we do this next slip stitch, and then this is the starting of the repeat. So it's a slip stitch, skip 1, so we're going to skip 1 here, and we're going to do 3 double crochets into the next one. Okay, so 3 double crochets. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Okay, and we're going to chain 1 and 3 more double crochets into that same stitch. 1, 2, and 3. And then we skip that one that's right there beside it. Beside that hole, there's another hole. Skip that one and slip stitch into the next. Okay, and that's the end of the repeat. Okay, so I'll show you the repeat again. Sorry, I'm just grabbing some yarn again. This yarn's all twisting up on me bad. Okay, so the repeat after, because at the beginning we did a little different here at the beginning, but it was to even out how many stitches we needed for each one of these points of the star. Okay, so the repeat again is slip stitch into this one, into the next stitch, and slip stitch loosely. Don't do it too tight. Okay, and then skip 1 and 3 double crochets into the next one. Okay, 1, 2, and 3, and then a chain 1 and 3 more double crochet into that same stitch. There's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and if you want, like I said, if you want to fix these now, you can just give it a little pull. I actually didn't do it to this one. I normally do this because they do overlap sometimes. Okay, skip this one, slip stitch in the next one loosely. Just make sure you're doing all those slip stitches loosely. Okay, you don't want them really, really tight. Okay, and that's the end of the repeat. So slip stitch, skip 1, slip stitch, skip 1, 3 double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, 3 double crochet in that same stitch, then skip 1 and slip stitch in the next. Okay, so I'm going to go back and we're going to do this repeat again. Slip stitch, skip 1, 3 double crochet into the next. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Chain 1, and 1, 2, and 3 into that same stitch. Give it a little yank. Skip this one, slip stitch in the next. Loosely. I can't say it enough. Make sure you do these slip stitches between the star points. Make sure you do them loosely. Okay. Slip stitch in the next. We're coming to this is the last star point now. Skip, slip stitch in the next, skip, 3 double crochet into the next. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. Chain 1. Oops. 1, 2, and 3. Give it a little pull apart. And now we'll skip this one and slip stitch into the next. Okay. So now, I'm going to zoom out again here. So now we have reached the stitch right before the slip stitch, okay, which is the end of this row, okay. We have 45 stitches, and that's including the join stitch for this row. So that now is considered a stitch, okay. So, and again, as I wrote in the PDF, remember to slip stitch loosely, okay. So now onto row 4. Row 4, you're going to slip stitch into that join stitch, okay. So we're going to take that stitch marker out, okay, and we're going to, I'll zoom in again. We're going to slip stitch into that join stitch, okay, and make it a loose stitch, okay. Now put a stitch marker in that, okay, so we know that, that's the slip stitch and that's the other slip stitch, okay, so there's 2 slip stitches there. The one is the last stitch of the last row, and that one is into that join stitch, okay. And now, now this part was the tricky part of me writing this up, because it was kind of hard to write this in a way to understand. So what you're going to do now is you're going to single crochet in between, so we have row 1, row 2, okay, and this is row 3. So in between row 2 and row 3, you're going to single crochet. If you move, you can see this is the 3 double crochets here. In between row 2 and this first double crochet, you're going to just wiggle, and you're not in the stitch itself, but in between row 2 and that double crochet, you're going to single crochet inside there, okay? So we're going to single crochet in there, okay? And then we're going to go between this double crochet, sorry, the first double crochet and the second double crochet. So we're just going to wiggle and go right in between the stitches. We're going to make another single crochet, okay? And then between the second double crochet and the last double crochet here, we're going to wiggle and we're going to go between those with a single crochet. Okay. Okay. Now in the chain 1 space, you're going to make, it's the half double crochets. Okay. So you're going to do 2 half double crochets, and then a chain 1 and 2 half double crochets. Okay, so yarn over, make a half double crochet. Okay, and yarn over, make another half double crochet. Then you're going to chain 1, and then in that same chain 1 space, you're going to make another 2 half double crochets. Okay, again, you can wiggle that one. Now, you're going to now do your single crochets again, but this time we're going to start with this first one, and it's going to go right between this first double crochet and this second double crochet. Sorry, pardon me. We're going to single crochet between there, okay, and we're going to go between the second and the third one, right between there, with a single crochet. And then for the last single crochet here, we're going to go between row 2 and the side of the third double crochet. Okay, so you're not going to go into this slip stitch. This right here is the slip stitch. We're going to go between the stitch and the previous row right here. Okay, and make a single crochet. Okay. And then now we're going to slip stitch 2 together over the next 2 slip stitches. So this one that's kind of hiding a little bit now behind that single crochet, you're going to grab that slip stitch and the next slip stitch, and you're going to slip stitch 2 together. And how we do that, so I want to make sure that I'm under the camera properly. We're going to go through the first slip stitch and pull up a loop, okay? Then go through the next slip stitch and pull up a loop, okay? And then you're not going to yarn over or anything. You're just going to pull this first loop through these 2, okay? Like that. And that's a slip stitch 2 together. Then we're going to start our, this is the start of our repeat, I believe. Yes, it's the start of our repeat. Sorry, I am making sure that with the pattern that I am mentioning all of these parts properly so that I don't mess up on the video here. Okay, so this is the starting of the repeat. So between row 2 and the first double crochet, just wiggle it and get between row 2 and that first double crochet, and you're going to single crochet. Okay, between the second and the the first and the second double crochet, wiggle and get between those 2 stitches with a single crochet. And then between the second and the third double crochet, we're going to single crochet in between those 2. Okay. Now we've reached the chain 1 space. In the chain 1 space, you're going to make 2 half double crochets. So there's 1 and 2. And then you're going to do a chain 1. And then 2 more half double crochets into that chain 1 space. Okay. And we'll wiggle that open a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to go between this first double crochet and this second double crochet, wiggle it open and get between those stitches, the single crochet. And then between the second and the third double crochet, get between those stitches and do another single crochet. And then we've reached that part where the slip stitches are. So between the last double crochet right here and row 2, we're going to go and we're going to open that up. We're not going to go in the slip stitch. We're going to go in this hole. Okay. And so single crochet in there. Okay. Well, it just got a little darker in here. Sorry about that. Hope that doesn't affect the video too much. I think the sun went behind the clouds. Okay, and then we've reached the ending of the repeat, which is the 2 slip stitches, and we're going to slip stitch those 2 together. Okay, so through the first slip stitch and yarn over, bring up a loop, and into the next slip stitch, yarn over, bring up a loop. You have 3 loops on your hook, and then you're just going to pull this loop through the other 2. Okay, and still don't do this too tight, okay, because we still have to go into it again. Okay. And that's the repeat of that. So we're going to continue on with that. We're going to do single crochet between row 2 and the first double crochet, single crochet between the next 2 double crochets, and single crochet between the second and the last. Okay. It may seem getting a little curly here a little bit, but that's okay. Just try not to do everything too tight, because if you make it too tight, then you are going to get a lot of curl, and you're going to need to block it. Okay, so we've reached the chain 1 here. We're going to do a half double crochet, another half double crochet, and then we're going to do a chain 1 and 2 more half double crochets in that chain 1 space. Sorry, I'm trying to stay on the camera for the half double crochets, but we kind of turn at this part, so it's hard to stay on the screen. Okay, and we just give a little yank, separate those two stitches. My yarn's getting all twisty again. Between these two double crochets now with a single crochet, between these two with another single crochet, and then between the last double crochet and the row 2, not the slip stitch, but in this bigger hole between the two things here, we're going to put another single crochet. And then we're going to slip stitch the 2 slip stitches together. 1 and 2, and then we're going to pull those 2 together. Okay? And we're going to do that 2 more times. Sorry, I heard a bang outside. I hope the chair didn't go flying in the wind or something. All right, on to the next point. We'll get a single crochet in there, a single crochet in there, and a single crochet in there. And then we're going to get our half double crochets in the chain 1, 1, 2, chain 1, 2 half double crochets in the next. That's 1 and 2 half double crochets in there. Twisty yarn. Single crochet in there. Single crochet in there. And single crochet in between the row 2 and the last double crochet, not the slip stitch, in between the stitch and the row 2. Okay. And then we're going to slip stitch the 2 slip stitches together. So go in the first slip stitch, pull up a loop, go in the next slip stitch, pull up a loop, and you're going to pull that through the other 2 loops. And this is the last repeat for the last point of the star. And then we're going to go on to row 5. So I'm just going to explain this repeat one more time for this row. We're between row 2 and the first double crochet. We're going to go right here between those stitches with a single crochet. Then between the first double crochet and the second double crochet, between the stitches, do a single crochet. And then for the last single crochet here, going up this side, we get the second double crochet and the third double crochet right between them with another single crochet. And then we're going to do we've reached our chain 1, we're going to do 2 half double crochets in that chain 1 space. There's 1 and 2, and then we're going to chain 1 and do 2 more half double crochets in that same chain 1 space. Okay. Give it a little tug, separate them. And then we're going to go between the first double crochet and the second double crochet, right between the stitches with a single crochet. And between the second and the third double crochet with another single crochet. And then between the last double crochet and row 2, not the slip stitch, this is the slip stitch right here, we're going between here, we're going in here with a single crochet. Oops, sorry. Okay, and then for when you've reached that last single crochet, you will do your last slip stitch 2 together, but it's going to be with this last slip stitch here and the one that we have our stitch marker in. Okay, so we're going to take our stitch marker out and we're going to slip stitch 2 together using that last slip stitch there and this other slip stitch that had the stitch marker in it. And we're going to slip stitch those 2 together. At the end of this row, this was row 4, you should have 60 stitches, including all the chain 1s. Okay, that's for the count, the stitch count. I also counted all those chain 1s that are in here. Okay, so if you're going to count your stitches, there's 60 stitches, including those chain 1s. Pardon me. I'm going to stick a stitch marker in this stitch now. Okay, so we don't lose, this is the last stitch we're going to be going into for row 5. Okay, so we're going to slip stitch loosely into the next 5 stitches. Okay, so you can see we've already gone in this one. So into this one, we're going to, like I said, you're going to do these slip stitches loosely. You don't want these too tight, but you also want them uniform. So try to keep your tension the same for all of these slip stitches, because what happens with these slip stitches is they will be on the front of the work. So you don't want, one tight and one really baggy. Okay, so, and there we go. The yarn is a little bit weird there, but that's okay. So I have done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slip stitches up the side of this point. Okay, and then when we've done those 5, we're at the chain 1 space. Okay, and then in the chain 1 space, we're going to do 3 single crochet. Okay, so there's 1, 2, and 3. So now what happens here, okay, we're going to be slip stitching into the next 11 stitches, but what happens here, if you look closely, this stitch here gets covered by that single crochet. So sometimes I just wiggle it over a little bit. Okay, I hope that was not going out of focus. So, but you have to make sure that you get that stitch. Okay, so you can see this one's very big, and this one is almost being covered. Okay, you need to get that stitch. It can be tricky. Okay, give it a little wiggle. Make sure you got both the strands. There's 1, 2 strands, and then you're going to slip stitch through there. It's sometimes good to just crunch up that star and hold it in your hand so that you can get a nice looser slip stitch in that stitch. Okay. And then that's 1. We're going to do 11. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the last slip stitch here, 11. Okay, so now you can see all the slip stitches, pardon me, all the slip stitches that we've done, they're going to sit along the front of the star. Okay, and it gives it that nice little uniform look, and it also makes this point out more too. Sorry, pardon me. I should be covering my mic. Sorry about that. So now we've done our 11 stitches down here, and sorry, that was our repeat. Okay, but just with that repeat, you have to make sure that you get that little hidden stitch. Okay, so this is the starting of the repeat here. Oh, my yarn's all twisty. It's all twisty crazy. You should see what the twist is like here. Okay, so we're at the starting of the repeat. When you reach the chain 1, you're going to do 3 single crochets into the chain 1 space. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then just, if you can't get it, just move your single crochet over a little bit. Okay, you can always move and slide them over again later if you move them too much, but mostly when you just slide them over, it doesn't really do anything to affect the work. Okay, and we're going to make sure we get into this stitch here that's kind of hidden. Okay, you got to get that hidden stitch. Okay, make sure you grab both of those stitches, and now we're going to slip stitch 11. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that's the end of the repeat. So the repeat for this row, once you're done once you're done the first 5 slip stitches here, the repeat starts at the 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space. Okay, so it's 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, and then slip stitch 11 in the next 11 stitches, but make sure that you get that hidden stitch, okay? Because if you don't get that hidden stitch, then your points are going to be off. They're not going to be in the right place, okay? So for the rest of this one, I hope that this is not been unfocusing at all, because I know sometimes my phone, when I do a lot of movements, it will focus and then unfocus, and I haven't really been watching the camera as much as I probably should be, but it's hard to crochet. Look here and then also look up there. So again, the repeat, we're going to continue on with the same repeat. 3 single crochets in the chain 1 space. 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to make sure that you get, because see, like right after I do it, you can see this stitch. This one here is hidden. It's hidden underneath that single crochet. So I just slide it over a little bit. And then make sure that you get that stitch there that's been hidden, okay? That's the hardest part about this row, is getting that little hidden stitch, okay? And now we're going to slip stitch 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and the last one here, that's the end of the repeat, is 11. Okay. Now I don't know if you notice when I'm doing my slip stitches and how I keep them like uniform, kind of the same size. So there's a thing that I do with my hook and the way that I do my slip stitches that helps these slip stitches so that they all stay kind of the same size. Okay, I'm just gonna, okay, here's the last repeat. There's the 3 single crochets in the chain 1 space. Okay, we're just gonna shift that over a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna fold that star behind there so it gets out of my way. Okay, and so the first one is the trickiest. Okay, so when I'm doing my slip stitches, we're going to do our last 11 here. That's one. If you watch the way I do with my hook, I pull up my loop and then I just go like this. Like when I go like this, it loosens this and it keeps this loose as well. What some people do when they're doing their slip stitches is they're not very relaxed, right? See how I did that again? And this will help. Just when you pull it up, just put your hook back like that. And that way it keeps them, if you do that every single slip stitch, your slip stitches will stay about the same size, okay? Because you're not pulling it or anything like that. You're doing the exact same motion, okay? See? And it helps to keep those slip stitches loose and uniform and all the same tension and the same size, okay? Just want to make sure that was 11. I'm pretty sure it was. 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Okay, so when we've reached the ending, well, sorry, this is not the ending just yet. We still have this last star point. So we're going to do 3 more single crochets. Oh, this yarn is so twisty. I think because of the gold stuff in the yarn, it makes it twist a lot more. There's 3 single crochets in the last chain 1 space. Wiggle that over. Now we're going to get our last stitch here. So when we've reached this last chain one space, you're going to do your 3 single crochets in the chain one space, and then you're just going to slip stitch in the last 6 stitches. Okay, so there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, sorry, I think I was coming off the screen there. There's 5, and then the 6th stitch is where we put the stitch marker. Okay, and 6. Okay, I actually think I did that one slip stitch a little tight, but or maybe it's just I did that one loose after I was just explaining how I got them all uniform. Anyway, I could actually go back and fix that. I will. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It is that first slip stitch. That's why when I'm doing this one, I fold the star and I turn my work so that it's straight, because I want to make sure that that slip stitch, that one there, looks like all the rest. And if you don't kind of turn your work there, it can get weird. So there's 1, 2, 3, oops, 4, 5, and the last one, 6. Okay, so we won't talk about that little boo-boo at the end, but okay, it's fine. And so now we're going to finish off. Now, some people would chain 1 and finish off, but we're going to do an invisible join. So don't do a chain 1. Okay, just leave. I'm gonna zoom out again here. Okay, so when we're at the end here, we're going to leave, you know, a decent amount of yarn. Okay, for weaving in, and then we're just going to pull our hook out. Okay, and this is how we're going to make the invisible join. If you chain 1, then you'll have a bump. Okay, we don't want that. So it's gotten darker all of a sudden again. Hopefully you guys can still see. So we're going to grab our dull needle for doing our invisible join. Okay, and get your yarn in your needle. Okay, and what I do, okay, for my invisible join, for this one, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes, here, I'm going to zoom in again so that you can see. Zoom in. So now, if you look here, we have there's our last slip stitch, okay, and it's actually gone into this stitch here. So this stitch is actually the slip stitch we just made. So we're going to go into this stitch, okay. So if you can see that, this stitch, you can see where it comes out from right there. Okay, we're not going to go in that one. We're going to go under this stitch. This is the first slip stitch that we did. Okay, and we're going to go under both of those loops like that. Okay, I know it kind of looks like we're skipping this stitch, but it's not. That's why I explained that that's actually the stitch that you slip stitched into. Okay, so we're going to go under those 2 threads, okay, and come out the back. Okay, and then when you pull this, you'll see, you can, I don't know why it got so much darker in here. I'm having a hard time seeing. This is where the last slip stitch is here, right here. Okay, and this is the yarn that we just pulled over and under that stitch. So right here in that slip stitch, you're going to go through, right through the middle of the V. Okay, and you're going to bring your yarn through to the back. Okay, just like that. Okay, and you're going to pull it through. And now when you're wanting to do this little invisible join, you want to make sure that this goes to the front a little bit. You don't want it to push this, because this is like the back stitch. This is the back stitch that we slip stitched this slip stitch into. So when you're making the invisible join, you want to make sure that when you're pulling this, that you're not going to have that, see this little thing sticking through? Okay, that's why you got to make sure that that comes forward. Okay. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll pull it and then I'll hold it like that to make that. See that V-stitch that we're making? Okay, and then just pull it. And you'll see, now we have a V here, and we have a V here, and we have a V here. So this is it's like, it's the invisible join, but it makes it look like there's just a stitch there. Sorry, my yarn is a little puffy there, so it doesn't look as good as normally, but you can see here, even on the other star, this is the invisible join stitch right here. So you have a V here, you have a V here, and you have a V here. So this one is an added stitch, but on this star, but it makes it look normal because it looks like a V stitch. Now, when I normally do my invisible join, I would actually skip this one and go into this one, and that would overlap this one so that you're not adding a stitch. But for this little star, it's really not noticeable that you have one little added V stitch, and it helps it lay more flat anyway. Okay, so we have our invisible join there. What we're going to do now is, I'm just going to zoom out here. We're going to take our dull needle out. We're going to grab our sharper needle. Okay. And this is what I mean by the sharper needle. I'll do like a little loop like this. Okay. And then just give it a little wiggle like that, and it goes right through. Okay. Watch that gold thread. Okay, and you're going to use your sharp needle just to weave in your ends. Okay, I'm just going to weave along this little edge. Okay. And here, I might as well tell you exactly how I weave in my ends too while I'm at it. So what I do when I'm weaving in my ends, okay, I've gone this way under the stitches, but with this sharp needle, you don't want to just go under, like, okay, so you can see where my thread came out, where my yarn came out here, right? You don't want to just go through that exact same place, okay, because what that can do is take it out. And when you're using a dull needle, it will definitely happen, okay? But with the sharp needle grabs the fibers and can separate the fibers, which makes the yarn stay in place better. Okay, so, but what I do though, is I use my sharp needle. I don't know if you can, I'll get as close as I can. I'm going to just pull my yarn up there, okay? And you're just going to grab like one thread. See how there's four threads here. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm just going to grab that little tiny last thread, okay? And then go through, okay? And what that does is you have to be careful not to pull it too tight, okay? But what that does is, okay, you want to make sure your thing, give it a little tug, make sure it's not too tight there, is when you pull this completely through, you'll be able to tug on this sucker, okay? And I'm only grabbing one little thread, so it doesn't distort the stitch, okay? It just makes sure that it locks that yarn underneath this stitch up here, okay? And then with blankets, sometimes I'll go back the other way. But for this star, I'm just going to go one way and then back, and it's done, okay? But grabbing that little tiny thread is so important for making sure that your ends don't come out, okay? Especially for blankets. Like this little star thing, I probably don't really have to even do that. But I mean, if I ever want to throw it in the wash, then weaving in the ends properly is the best way to go. Okay, and so now we're going to just weave in this middle piece. And this one, you don't want to pull it too tight, okay? You don't want to close the hole, because then what it can do is it can kind of distort and crumple your star. So we're just going to go this way a smidgen. Watch that, you can feel the slip knot underneath this section, okay? You don't want to pull that out, so be careful that you don't pull that out. Okay, we're just going to go that way. And then again, I'm going to lift this up, and I'm going to grab one tiny little thread. Okay, I'm not going to go right where it came out. I'm just going to grab one little tiny thread. Okay, and go to the end here. Okay, and pull it through. And now with this one, sometimes it will do this. If it puckers, just grab the two yarns together and it'll fix it. No worries. Okay. And then I'm also going to just, because this is where the join was, I'm just also going to pull my yarn this way. Okay. And then what that's going to do is it's just going to help close this little section a little bit. Okay. And there, we got that weaved in. Snip the yarn. Make sure you don't cut your star. Oh, you know, I didn't even notice that it was actually my light that went out. It must have died, and that's why it's so dark all of a sudden for me. But I hope that it didn't affect the video too much, because I really don't want to do this video again. And I got a shadow here from my yarn bowl. So anyway, so I usually always make where that slip knot, I make that the bottom, okay, because it's right in the middle of the bottom. Okay, and if you want to block this, you can. I really find that it doesn't need, with all the slip stitch, with the row of, the last row of slip stitches, it really doesn't need blocking really. I mean, but if it really bothers you, you certainly can block it. You can even starch it so that it stays, you know, in place, but I'm not really all that picky. So I'm just going to leave it the way it is, but I will show you how I put on the jute. And hopefully it's not too dark for you. I actually should have maybe opened that curtain a little bit. I don't know if that helped a little bit. But. So we're going to grab this jute, and we're just going to grab enough yarn to put this end on the star, but also enough that we can make a little knot like here. Okay, so depending on how long you want it to dangle. Okay, I'm going to make it about that size. Okay, so now we have, I think mine's maybe about a foot, maybe a little under a foot. Okay, so, and then we're going to grab our hook actually, and I'm going to show you something too. When you're looking at one of the points of the star, okay, the middle single crochet, like you know how we have 3 single crochets here, the middle single crochet actually doesn't sit right in the middle. Okay, like if you look, it's the middle of that point. Even when I was wiggling it over, if you wiggle it back, it still sits. It just sits that way. Okay, so what I do, okay, this is the first single crochet right here on the side, and this is the last 2 single crochets. So what I do is I use the middle single crochet and the last single crochet to put my my jute through. Okay, so, and what we're going to do is we're going to go through the back. Okay, and if you use these 2 stitches, I promise you're not going to notice it, and it's going to hang straight. Okay, so we're going to grab not the first stitch, but the second stitch, and we're going to go in from behind. Okay, so that our hook comes to the front. Okay, and then we're going to grab our jute, and it can be a little tricky, but you're going to grab that jute and pull it through that 1 stitch. Okay, not all the way through. You're going to still need the other half on the side. Okay, and so now you're going to put your hook through the next stitch, which is the 3rd single crochet, and you're going to go through the back to the front. Okay, just like that. This is the front. And you're going to do the same thing with this strand. Now this is the one that's kind of tricky because it's kind of a little tricky to keep this part out of the way. So there we go. I kind of just make sure I hold all of it and then pull that jute through, okay? It's a little struggle, but it works, okay? And then you want to put these two ends together and pull that so that it's sitting straight, okay? And then you just make your knot. Okay, and with jute, sometimes when you make this knot, it can be pretty loose. So what I do is I'll make the knot like that, and then I'll just yank, 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 yank on those two threads, and then yank on these ones. Okay, and it ties it tighter and better. And there we have it. So we got the finished little star that we just finished. And I promise you, where, like I said, if you go through those two stitches, it will hang perfectly fine. Like I said, you can block this. If you don't want to block it, that's fine too. Okay, and there we have it. So there we go. I'm gonna move this stuff so that you guys can see. We got two little stars. I got two little stars here. I actually had to make another one yesterday because I had gifted the other two, and I was like, oh no, I got to make another one because I'm going to be redoing the video. So here we go. We got two little gold stars for the tree. I hope you guys enjoyed crocheting along with me, and I'm very sorry that this video went this long. I wasn't expecting it to be this long, but again, this is Lisa. My Facebook group is called Crochet for Love. I'm a very small group so far, but if you'd like to join me there, I would love to have you there. You can also find all of my patterns in the file section of that group. I used to be on Ravelry. I sadly had a falling out with one of the admin workers there, and I ended up pulling all my patterns off. So, but now you still get all my patterns for free. I've actually never sold a pattern in my life, so all of my patterns have been free. So you can still get all my patterns from my Facebook crochet group. Again, that's called Crochet for Love. I will put the link for that in the comments. I'm going to try to figure out, sorry, this is my first YouTube video, so I am going to try to figure out how to get that link in there. I'm not sure if it will be in the description or if it will just be in the comments. But you can totally find me on that group. And also, sorry, I am a little bit out of it now. I'm a little tired and I need a drink. But, oh, if you can, I know, I'm going to be one of those people. If you can like and subscribe. Actually, I've learned from all the videos that I was watching, I've learned that when you subscribe to someone, it really helps their channel a lot. So, if you can like, subscribe, and I will continue to try my best to bring more YouTube videos just like this one to you. And I hope that you guys will enjoy more videos from me and that we will be able to crochet more stuff together. Okay, so that's it for now. Again, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you again in another tutorial. Have a good day. Bye for now.